So in this division strategy review, we're going to be reviewing partial quotient. Now, partial quotient and area model, or the area method, both allow you, instead of looking at one digit at a time, as in long division and short division, this one allows us to look at the entire number at once. All right, so we're going to take the entire number and divide that out into groups. Now, the coolest part about this one is that we can use lots of different ways. There's not really a set number, as in long and short, that will allow us to do this. And let me show you an example. So one of the examples I've been doing is 1,976 divided by 8. So the way I'm going to set this one up is I'm going to write the 1,978, and I'm going to go ahead and divide that by 8. Now, what sets this method apart and how it looks is that we're going to take this little area right here and we're going to draw it all the way down. Kind of looks like a 7, if you will. Okay? So, this is going to be looking at this as using our multiplication facts, since division is the opposite of multiplication. And we're going to use some larger numbers at the beginning to kind of subtract these groups out, because I need groups of 8, and I have 1,978. If I start with something large, like 8 times 1,000, well, that answer is 8,000. And that's going to be way, way too big because our number is only 1,978. But I can start with, say, 100. So 8 times 100. And again, there are lots of ways to do this. Okay, well, I can do that. 8 times 100 is 800. So I'm going to start off by pulling 100 groups of 8 out of this problem. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and subtract 800 because 100 times 8 is 800. Again, I'm just pulling out 100 groups of 8. Well, once I divide that out, I need to know how much I have left over. So 8 minus 0 is 8. 7 minus 0 is 7. 9 minus 8 is 1. And 1 minus nothing is 1. So I now have 1,178. Well, I can go ahead and divide another group of 800 out of here, right? Because I can't do 8,000. That's way too big. But I was trying to click my highlighter tool. There we go. I can go ahead and divide another group of 800 because I have 1,178. And this is what I have left over. So let's go ahead and take out another 100 groups of 8. Okay, 100 times 8 is 800. And then we're going to go ahead and subtract and see what we have left. So 8 minus 0 is 8. 7 minus 0 is 7. And I can't, 1 minus 8, I have to go borrow. So this becomes a 0 and that 11. So 11 minus 8 is 3. All right. So now my problem is now way down here. Okay, because I've already divided all that out. I now have 378 left. Well, I can't do 8 times 100 anymore because that's 800. That's too big. But maybe I could do 8 times 10. What is 8 times 10? Yeah, 80, right? So I could sit there and subtract out a lot of 80s. But I'm also noticing that 378, I can get more groups of 80 out of there. Because how many times does 8, just looking at the first two digits here, how many times does 8 go into 37? 4, because 8 times 4 is 32. So what happens if instead of doing it by 10, I do 8 times 40? Well, 8 times 4 is 32, minus 0, or 8 times 40 is 320. That would totally work because I have 378. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 40 groups of 8. Now, if I didn't see that right off the bat, like where I could see that 8 goes into 37, I could do 10 groups of 8 and subtract 80. And I could keep doing that 4 times and just keep doing that repeated subtraction if I needed to. So I'm going to go ahead and minus 320 because we did see it. I have 8 minus 0 is 8. 7 minus 2 is 5. And 3 minus 3 is 0. So I now am down here and I have 58 left over. All right. And so now I'm like, okay, well, what can I do? I know my multiplication fact, so 8 times 7 is 56. That's the closest I have left over. All right, so let's do 7 groups of 8. 7 times 8 is 56. And 8 minus 6 is 2. So I have a remainder of 2 because I can't get a group of 8 out of there. Well, how do I get my answer? Well, in this particular problem, you actually have to add up all the groups that you pulled out. So in this one, I have 100 plus 100 plus 40 plus 7, right? So 247. And this one, I have a remainder of 2. So for now, I'm just going to put remainder of 2. Okay? And that's all you do. So in this problem, again, you're not looking at one digit at a time. You're looking at the entire number. Okay, let's come on down and let's do a second problem. I want you to try to work this one ahead of me, please. Let's do 485 divided by 5. Remember to set this one up. It's going to be a little bit different. We're going to take that long line right there to help it kind of look like that 7. So we can pull our groups out. All right. Well, I know 5 times 1,000 is too big, but I can try 5 times 100. What do we got here? Is that one too big? Yeah, we only have 485. We can't take a group of 500 out of there. We only have 485. All right, so let's do this. 5 times 10 would be 50. Okay, now we're talking. Well, let's look at the first two numbers here. We got 48. How many groups of 5 can we get out of 48? Quite a bit, right? 9? Because 5 times 9 is 45, right? So therefore, 5 times 90 would be 450. Let's do that. Let's pull out 90 groups. If you didn't see that and you wanted to pull out right here, if you wanted to pull out like groups of 50 over and over and over, like 10, 10, 10, and you could do that 9 times, that's totally okay. You could do, less than that. You could do, say, 70 or 60 or 50. That's the cool part about this is that you have lots of room on this side to pull out those groups. And it can be whatever variation that you want. All right, so 90 times 5, well, that's 450. And I'm going to go ahead and subtract that. 5 minus 0 is 5. 8 minus 5 is 3. Oh, now it's just a multiplication fact, right? 5 times 7 is 35, right? So we'll go ahead and pull out that 7 groups of 5. 7 times 5 is 35. Again, whatever we have over here is what our answer is going to be once we add it together. So 90 plus 7, right, is 97. So our answer, 485 divided by 5, is 97.